Would you ever have assumed that the laws of how to inherit the land of Israel would actually teach you about our relationship with the Torah itself? Well, that's what we're going to learn in this fascinating sikha about how the land of Israel became ours, and by extension, how the Torah became ours. When it comes to the story of dividing up the land as described in this week's parasha Massei and previously in the parasha Pinchas, there are certain details that immediately jump out at you and beg for clarification. We'll just focus on some of them. Number one, the story of how to divide the land seems to include self-contradictory elements. Because on the one hand, chalukah al pi seichel dafka, on the one hand, there is a rational basis to how you split the land between the various tribes. Like the pasuk says, Lorav tarbe nachlosoi v'lamat tamit goimer, a larger tribe should get a larger tract of land, a smaller tribe, a smaller portion, which is logical. Ubefrat al pi drashas razal huva bepirish Rashi, especially when you follow the interpretation of our sages, which Rashi himself quotes in his interpretation, that the land was not divided into perfectly equal segments, which would have been a quantitative appropriate split. Instead, it was relative to the needs of the tribe, which is a qualitative split. So there's a rational basis for dividing the land. You have more people, you need a bigger portion of land or a more fertile portion of land, and so on. But there seems to be a contradiction to that, because on the other hand, nevertheless, the Torah tells us very clearly that the land was going to be divided on lottery, and a lottery is not a rational process. So that's our first question. There seems to be this contradiction. On the one hand, the Torah is pushing us to follow a logical division, and on the other hand, saying depend on a lottery, which is not logical. Second issue. When the Torah tells us furthermore that before they would make the lottery, Elazar, the son of Aaron, who at this time was the Kohen Gadol, would use the divine spirit that was invested in him, and he would announce, or he would allow that Ruach HaKodesh, that divine spirit, to cause the Urim V'Tumim, which was the breastplate and the Kabbalistic incantation that was inserted inside of it, to announce so-and-so gets such and such a portion. So now that indicates that the division of land was actually directly through divine inspiration. So far we have three possibilities. A rational division based on the needs of the tribes, a super-rational division based on a lottery, or a spiritual division based on Ruach HaKodesh. Number three, there's another interesting observation that is made, because when we're told about dividing the land, the Torah says very clearly, Tzav, instruct the Jewish people, and tell them that this is how the land should be allocated. So the commentaries tell us, Lahazir, based in Al-Kach, Shaloi Yoitziu Laz al Hagoyrolois. This is a specific instruction given to the Beis Din, the High Court, that they shouldn't in any way undermine the process of the lottery. Or Vitshuvas HaGo'onim. Now that's one thing, to say, okay, don't undermine the process. But when you see what the Go'onim say, it seems very perplexing. The Go'onim was a collection of sages after the Talmudic period. And in the response collated from the Go'onim, it says as follows, Ha'isifu bebir choymer ha'inyan, ha'oiver al ha'goyrel ka'oiver al aseres ha'dibros. They say that any person who would undermine the lottery system, it would be the same as if they had transgressed the 10 Commandments. But now that's a surprising statement. Fair enough. We know that the Go'onim were very great people, and they had a tradition that had been passed through the generations, and they weren't just going to thumbsuck insights, and they don't necessarily have to defend their position based on quotations from the Talmud. Aval maya shaychus ben goyrel laseres hadibros. But there has to be some kind of a rational connection. What prompts the Go'onim to link the goyrel, the lottery system of dividing the land, specifically to the 10 Commandments, to the point that they say if you deny the validity of the goyrel, you deny the validity of the 10 Commandments. Why? What's the connection between them? Even though King Solomon says in the book of Mishlei that the goyrel, the lottery, falls into your lap, but from Hashem the judgment of the goyrel was sent. In other words, that indicates that if something happens through lottery, it's really Hashem's choice. So good. Then if you deny the validity of that lottery, so then if a person denies the validity of the goyrel, you're saying you deny the fact that Hashem is running the show. That's fair enough. But again, what's the connection to the 10 Commandments? It seems totally random and unrelated. Okay, so these are our questions. What's the seeming contradiction between a rational division of the land versus a lottery division? The seeming contradiction between a division based on the lottery versus a division based on divine inspiration through the Urim V'Tumim, and why the association with if you undermine the goyrel, you have undermined the 10 Commandments. So in order to understand this, what the Rebbe is going to do for us is explain that this relates to 3 different ways in which a person can acquire something. Those 3 ways will be relevant to how we come to the Torah as Jewish people, and by extension, how we come to the land of Israel. So the 3 ways in which a person can acquire something, we find all 3 of them are specifically associated with our relationship to the Torah, and based on that, we'll resolve this issue. Aleph Yerusha K'Moshe Nemar Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Moirasha Kehilas Yaakov. The first relationship that we note between ourselves and the Torah is that Torah is our inheritance. Very famous verse in the Torah that says that Moshe commanded us the Torah, Moirasha Kehilas Yaakov. It is the inheritance of the entire Jewish community. So our relationship to the Torah is we are heirs to the Torah. It is the relationship of inheritance on the one hand. On the other hand, secondly, mecher. The Torah is also compared to an object that was sold to us. Like the Gemara tells us, it's actually a medrash. The medrash tells us that Hashem says to the Jewish people, I have sold you my Torah. And in fact, we know the famous verse that says, Ki lekach tov nosati lochem Torah shel tazovu. I have given you a good piece of merchandise, my Torah. So there's an association between us and Torah, which is like the association of inheritance. And there's an association between us and Torah, which is like the association of purchase. And thirdly, matana. The Torah is also compared to a gift. K'maimer azal, as the Gemara tells us in the beginning of the tractate Brachos, that there were 3 beautiful gifts that Hashem gave to the Jewish people. By the way, the Gemara over there says that each one of them is achieved through suffering, or attained through suffering. Torah, and one of them is Torah. Or like we say in our prayers when it comes to the holiday of Shavuos, we call it Zaman Matan Torah, the time that Hashem gifted us the Torah. So that tells you that there are 3 different channels of how we relate to the Torah, how we come to possess the Torah: inheritance, purchase, and gift. What's the difference between them? So to understand those, that basically describes 3 different relationships between us and Torah. So to understand and appreciate those 3 different relationships, let's look in just simple practical terms what the differences are between inheritance, purchase, and gift. Yerusha, let's start with inheritance because that's the order in which we're doing it. Inheritance does not in any way depend on the stature of the recipient. Gadol bekamas or be'eches, a cotton v'chule, it doesn't make a difference if you're older, younger, more mature, less mature, higher stature, lower stature, it's irrelevant. Mishnah, as the Mishnah tells us, Tinoik ben yoyim echad noichel umanchil, that a child at the age of literally 1 day old is a fully fledged potential heir. So if a person, God forbid, would lose their father when they were 1 day old and they were the sole heir to his property, they're 100% the heir, regardless of the fact that they don't actually qualify as a person who can engage in transactions, because inheritance does not in any way seem to rely on the recipient's abilities. Whereas mecher hu davar she'kohen tzarich l'shalem t'murasoi, a purchase is something you have to pay for. So that implies that you as the recipient, you've done something in order to deserve to get this item. What have you done? You've paid, you've invested, you've given something for which you'll receive in return. So they seem to be obviously very different because the inheritance does not in any way require anything of the heir, whereas purchase obviously requires something of the buyer. You have to pay. So although they seem to be so different, they actually share something in common. Yes, it's true that they're two totally different processes, and yes, it seems that purchase puts a tremendous amount of responsibility on the purchaser, whereas inheritance puts almost no responsibility on the heir. What they both have in common is that both of them require some kind of relationship that pre-exists this particular situation. In other words, when it comes to inheritance, the pre-existing relationship is that the heir is related to the person who is bequeathing the object. If they were not related, he wouldn't be an heir. So that tells us that they already have a pre-existing relationship between them. Likewise, likewise with a purchase, the person who buys the object has to take something of his own, his money, and he has to give it to the seller. So that tells you that they forge a relationship and that there's something he has done in order to receive. So in the case of inheritance, it's who I am that aligns me to be able to receive the inheritance. In the case of purchase, it's what I've offered that allows me to be aligned with the seller and to be able to get his object. Neither of those relates, however, to the process of a gift. It is quite possible that a person will receive a gift that they don't deserve. It actually has nothing to do with them. They don't necessarily have a pre-existing relationship with the person who gives the gift. They haven't necessarily done anything to pay for or to invest in the relationship, and it's just the goodwill of the giver who's chosen to give them a gift. So theoretically, if you walk down the street and you randomly chose a stranger and said, here's $100, they don't have to have any relationship with you. You don't have to know their name. You don't have to ever see them again in your life. And they certainly don't have to do anything for you in order for you to give them the gift. So that indicates that the gift process is markedly different from the inheritance and the purchase processes. So this is relevant for us understanding how Torah works because there are three different levels through which we could connect with Torah. So these three ideas reflect in Torah. Number one, the first thing we'll address is that we have a relationship with Torah which is similar to inheritance, meaning just like an heir does not have to have any qualifications in order to inherit, we don't have to have any qualifications in order to belong to or to own or to have a relationship with the Torah. We're Jewish, that's it, the Torah is ours. Every one of us, regardless of our religious level, knowledge level, commitment level, we're Jewish, we're heirs to the Torah. It's my inheritance. You actually see this implied in the name of the Jewish people. The collective noun for the Jewish people is Yisrael, Israel, which is an acronym for there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. The implication being that every one of us owns a piece of the Torah. There's like one letter, one component, one element of the Torah that's already ours, even before we start, before we learn, before we qualify. That is the so-called inheritance relationship. Therefore, there's a flip side to this. If the Torah belongs to every single one of us, then the corollary of that is that every single one of us is equally obligated to study Torah, and nobody can excuse themselves and say, I'm too busy, I'm underqualified, I'm not wealthy enough, I'm too wealthy, or whatever the excuses are. The fact is, it's 100% yours, just like it's 100% the guy who sits in yeshiva all day. So that's the first relationship we have with Torah. It is a level playing field. Every single Jewish person is equally related to the Torah, equally has the right to the Torah, and equally has the responsibility to the Torah. Then there's the next level. Number two is Bechinas Mecher Shebetorah. There's another relationship that we have with Torah which is more comparable to a purchase. hu chelek ha'avona shebetorah sheba leha'adam al yidei avodaso v'giyasei v'lo yogaita matzasa al tami. Dugmas mecher shal hakoine l'shalom tmuras chayfetz hanikne. What did we say about purchase? I have to pay. I have to cough up if I want to get the thing that's for sale. So this relates to the part of the Torah that is my understanding of the Torah. The first part was fundamentally, I have a relationship with Torah. I don't have to do anything in order to have a relationship with Torah. But in order to understand Torah, I've got to work. It's not going to just download into my brain. And the more I work, the more I'll understand. And if I choose not to work, well then, I'm not going to understand. As the famous saying in the Gemara, Yogaito matzasa, if you put in the effort, you'll see the results. Lo yogaito, if you don't put in the effort, don't claim matzasa. Don't imagine that you're going to understand, because you won't. So it's exactly like a sale. If you don't pay the money, you can't have the item. It's in this context that the sages told us in Pirkei Avos, prepare yourself to study Torah, because it is not an inheritance. But one second, you just said it is an inheritance. Yes, fundamentally the Torah belongs to me. But understanding of the Torah is not an automatic process. You have to invest, you have to work, you have to study, you have to break your head, and then you'll get to understand. When I talk from the inheritance perspective, every Jew is a level playing field. We are all equally linked to the Torah and all equally have the rights to understand. But when you start to talk about how much I'll understand, no two people are the same. No two people will share the same experience. Ein deyosein shavos. As the Gemara famously says, just like nobody has the same face, nobody has the same mind. The way you understand Torah and the way I understand Torah will never be identical, so you're obligated to use your intellect to the best of your abilities, and I'm obligated to use my intellect to the best of my abilities. So the degree of understanding will be relative to my talents, abilities, intellectual capacity, and effort. או פרק אחד ערביס, וגם פחוס מזה, אבל מי שאפשר לעסוק בתורה כל היום, חייב לקיים מצוות והגיס ביום ולילה כפשוטו. And from this perspective, one person, because of their circumstances, may fulfill their obligation to study Torah with one paragraph each morning or one paragraph each evening, and that's it. And another person may have the opportunity may have the ability to learn Torah full time, and then they have not discharged their responsibility until they're studying Torah full time. So the Yerusha inheritance track means we're all equally connected to Torah. The purchase track, which is the understanding track, is absolutely personalized. And then you get number 3, Bechinas Matana Shebetorah. You get the gift element of Torah. What's a gift? מה שניתן לאדם במתנה מלמעלה עניונים בתורה שהם לא כבייס בחינס הנ"ל המדוז ומכל ספר האדם הנברא שהנמשך יעשה לו מצד מציר שלא כבירוש ועוונה שלא כבמכר כי אם למעלה מאפשריוס הנברא להשיג בכוח עצמו. Then there's the gift of Torah, which means not like the Yerusha, which is because I am Jewish, therefore I deserve Torah. Not like the Mecher, which is because I've put in effort, therefore I deserve to understand. There's another dimension of Torah, which is a gift. That means I receive more than what I should have, more than what is relative to my efforts. This is Hashem's gift to a person. You push, you get to a certain point, which is the outer reaches of your abilities, and then Hashem gives you a gift that you're able to achieve or understand or appreciate a dimension of Torah beyond your abilities. It's quite interesting because our sages in the Gemara and Nedarim tell us that this is actually Moshe's experience. That Moshe It's really interesting because the Gemara tells us initially when Moshe would learn Torah, over time he'd forget what he had learned, which I suppose is our experience, right? And then Hashem gave him the Torah as a gift. Once Hashem gave him the Torah as a gift, he experienced something that is beyond human capacity, to learn something and retain it indefinitely. This is the gift of Torah. So there's the Yerusha of Torah, the equal access point for every single Jewish person to the Torah. Then there is the mecher of Torah, the part that we have to labor at and work and invest in order to get the results, which is to understand Torah. And then there is the gift of Torah, which Hashem gives us beyond our expectations and beyond what we deserve. Now this is the part that's going to be very relevant for our conversation, because when Hashem gives us a gift, that part of the Torah is also sometimes called the goyrol, the lottery of Torah. Just like with a gift, it's not up to me. If I'm the recipient of the gift, I have absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I'm receiving the gift. It's all up to you, the giver of the gift. You've chosen to give it to me on your terms. Similar principle with a goyrol, with a lottery. If I cast a lottery, I don't get to determine how it pans out. I don't get to determine who wins the lottery. That's completely out of my hands. So, that's why whenever we want to refer to something which is beyond human comprehension, we borrow this expression, goyrol, a lottery, because it indicates something which specifically has nothing to do with my understanding and specifically has nothing to do with my achievements. Now there's one issue though that we have to iron out over here. Yes, it's true that when it comes to a gift is completely on the terms of the giver. I don't force your hand to give me a gift. It's your prerogative. Nevertheless, the Gemara says, you must have done something. You must have done something, not pro rata, not relative to the gift, but you had to have done something that appealed to the giver, and that's why he's chosen to give you the gift. He didn't give it to some random stranger. He chose to give it to you. So obviously you've caught his eye somehow. You've done something that attracted his attention. That implies Shegam matona is kshura b'avodas hamakabel. That even receiving a gift is somehow related to the effort of the recipient. So if we're going to talk about a dimension of Torah, which is Hashem's gift to us, it's not going to happen just out of the blue. It will first be prefaced by something that we've done right, that earns us the place to receive Hashem's gift. Therefore, the principle goes this way. You only give a gift to somebody who is deserving of a gift. Now we need to understand this. And most importantly, so let's say that I do something that appeals to you, and that's why you like me, and you decide because you like me you're going to give me a gift. It's still all on your terms. I have no claim against you. I can't say, look what I did for you, you should give me a gift. I can't take you to court and say it's unjust what's happened over here. I was nice to that fellow and he did not give me a gift. I can do that with a sale. I can take you to court and say I paid you money and you didn't deliver the goods. That I'm allowed to do. So even when we talk in context of a gift and we say that there's something you've done to launch the interest in the other person to give the gift, you haven't done something which compels, and this is the key word, you haven't done something which compels them to give the gift. It is still on their terms of their own volition. It's their goodwill. And this is the part that's relevant to our conversation around Torah. When the gift happens, the gift is not relative to your efforts. The gift is beyond the expectation of your efforts. Now, parenthetically, the Rebbe will quickly go off to the side for a second and we'll come back to the primary issue that we want to discuss. Temporarily, we'll go off to a side issue. Don't think that this concept of, so to speak, earning your opportunity to get the gift is identical with what our sages say, that when a person has worked hard and has achieved something, you should believe that they've achieved because of their hard work. We explain, what does it mean, yogaita matzos? It's a funny expression, by the way, because it should have said, yogaita, you put in effort, Vehitzlachta, and you succeeded, or you understood, or you achieved. The word matzasa means to find, and when you find something, the impression is usually that you did not expect to find it. So if you were walking down the street and you found money lying on the road, you don't say, it's because I was trying so hard, that's why I found the money. It's a surprise. So usually when we say yogaita matzasa, what we mean is, you did put in effort, absolutely. But the result that you got because of your effort is surprising. It's beyond your expectation. Still, this concept that we're saying over here of receiving a gift from Hashem is not identical with saying you work, and the results are greater than you expected. Because that implies that you worked and you did expect a result, it's just you didn't expect the result to be this great. And that's why we can turn around to the person and say, well, if you worked and you did not see any results, we don't believe that. That's not possible, because there's an expectation that when you work hard at something, you will see a result. So even when we talk about this incredible thing, wow, I got much more out of this, I achieved much greater things than what I expected, we still classify that as something which is part of your interaction. You invested and you received in response. But when we speak about receiving an element of Torah as a gift, we are talking completely from Hashem's perspective, on His terms. Completely beyond anything that a human being could hope to achieve using their own efforts. That's why we call it a gift. A gift, something which is completely outside of your achievement. And therefore, whatever you may have done to find favor in the eyes of this particular person, and that's why they want to give you something, we're going to say that that is almost incidental. It's primarily the gift of the giver, primarily the gift of Hashem. So coming back to our issue, what we want to know is that there's a part of Torah that is so amazing, that is so unexpected, that is so much a gift from Hashem, that is so powerful, that is so compelling, there's nothing that you could have done to prepare yourself to receive this dimension of Torah. So the first level of Torah is called inheritance, which means just by virtue of the fact that I'm a Jewish person, I have access to Torah. The second level of Torah is what we call understanding. Because I worked really hard and I used my talents, therefore I've come to understand very deeply. The third experience of Torah is Hashem steps in and says, now over and above all of your efforts and what you deserve for your efforts, I will gift you with something completely beyond what you could have expected to achieve. We actually find exactly this kind of a process and definition associated with the process of a lottery, as we'll see in an halachic context. It says a very interesting thing, in his halachic response. He says something really interesting. He says, if you run the lottery process appropriately, then you attract divine providence to ensure that the right person gets the right result out of the girl. It's a very interesting perspective. So that indicates that you've got to play by the correct rules in order to get a result, which is what Hashem wants, because as we've already seen from Shlomo HaMelech, a girl, a lottery is what Hashem wants, but that it should be, so to speak, most appropriate. Hain, just to explain what he's getting at, similar to what we said, that a person will receive a gift because of the goodwill of the giver, but surely then would have done something to attract that giver's attention. So in a similar way, a lottery is completely beyond what the human mind can comprehend. And nevertheless, there's a perspective which says, and if you run the girl properly, and you're a decent person, and you follow decent procedures, then you will attract a higher level of divine providence and get the best result. And that can be expressed with regards to Torah as well. This is going to be very important later in the Sikha. Yes, we identify that there's a component and an element of Torah which is gifted from Hashem totally beyond the reach of human endeavor. But in order to get there, You actually first have to do everything in your power to serve Hashem in the best way possible. So there's an irony over here and a little bit of a paradox that on the one hand, Hashem is giving you something totally beyond your reach, and on the other hand, in order to achieve it and to deserve it, you actually have to do everything in your power. So you've got to push to the limits of your abilities, and then Hashem will take you over the finish line. It's quite similar to the principle that we call the 50 gates of Bina, that a human being is capable of achieving 49 levels of Bina, of deep understanding of Torah, and the 50th level is a gift from Hashem. But the 50th level is only granted to somebody who pushes themselves to get to all 49. So that's pretty much what we're saying over here. You are responsible to push yourself to do the very best that you can in terms of what you are capable of. And then Hashem may, after that, choose to give you something totally beyond it, which is this matana, this gift of Torah. Like we saw earlier from that Gemara in Nedarim, that after Moshe pushed himself to study Torah, then Hashem gave him the gift that he stopped forgetting. But first he had to push himself. Based on this, we're going to have a look at another Mishnah, also in Pirkei Avos, and the Rebbe is going to raise a question on a statement that we use frequently, in fact, multiple times in the day in our liturgy, and we take it absolutely for granted. The Rebbe is going to raise a very important question about it, and use the information that we have studied so far, particularly the concept of a matana, but the fact that there are 3 different levels of Torah to explain this particular thing. What does it say in the Mishnah? May it be your will, Hashem, our God and God of our fathers, that the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt in our days, and you will give us our portion in your Torah. There are 3 issues about the statement that seem not to make any sense. Number 1, what are we asking Hashem when we say, give us our portion in your Torah? Either way you look at it, the phrase doesn't seem to make sense. If you work hard and you learn to the best of your ability, well, our sages have told us, if you invest, you'll find. So you don't have to daven then, please let me find a piece of the Torah. Learn hard. That's what you got to do. Learn well. And if you don't learn well, then you can daven until you're blue in the face. How's it going to help? So what are we asking Hashem here? Please, Hashem, allow us to find a portion in your Torah. Don't ask Hashem. Open a book and start learning, and then you'll find a portion. Question number 2. What's the connection between rebuilding the Beis HaMikdash and us finding a portion in the Torah? They seem to be totally unrelated topics. And number 3, the phraseology is strange. We say, give us our portion. Well, you can only take possession of something if it already has a connection to you, right? So by saying our portion, you're implying that this is Torah that is already ours. But then we say, Torah shelcha, that it's your Torah. So it seems to be almost self-contradictory. Surely the most comfortable, logical way to say it would have been, Hashem, please give us a portion in the Torah, not our portion in your Torah. So what does it mean? The explanation is, this specific prayer is focused on that dimension of Torah which is Hashem's gift to us. In other words, not the part of Torah that we already have a pre-connected relationship with because we're Jewish, the inheritance. It's not the part of Torah which is dependent on the depth of our learning, the so-called purchase of Torah. Here we're talking about the gift that Hashem gives a person who deserves it, to be able to understand Torah way beyond their own capacity. That's why you're asking for it, because it's beyond anything that you can achieve on your own. It's beyond something that you can reach through study or through understanding. You can only ask Hashem, please, would you give me this gift? So leidach, on the other hand, we have already said very clearly that even to receive a gift, you first have to do something to align yourself to be deserving of the gift. So we've already said you have to push yourself to the absolute capacity of your personal abilities, and then you can expect that Hashem will give you a gift. So you've obviously that's why this prayer is saying Chelkeinu. I've already established a place. I've already owned some Torah. I've worked at this and I've learned. So I have Torah that I own. Which is how Torah So this is exactly what we're praying. We're saying, I have already done a Chelkeinu. I've worked and I've learned and I've pushed and I've studied and I've done everything in my capacity to own the Torah, the so-called purchase level of Torah. Now my prayer is, because I've done my part, Hashem, please will you give me the same, that's the root of the word matana, a gift. Please would you give me a gift that Chelkeinu, the portion of Torah that is already mine, should be B'Sorah Secha. I should be able to see and perceive and understand it from your perspective, which is completely beyond human capacity. Dugmas Maimer Azal, it's a little similar to what the Gemara tells us about Torah study that a soul will do after its life in this world when it gets to the next world, Gan Eden. So what does it say? Praiseworthy is the person who comes here referring to the next world. He has his study in his hand, meaning to say, he's got it under his belt, he has knowledge that is committed to his own memory. Now that is in Gan Eden, he will have the opportunity to relearn that same information from the perspective of Gan Eden, which is with all the mysteries of the Kabbalistic and spiritual insights of the Torah. Same kind of thing over here. We're going to say to Hashem, Chelkeinu, we've already achieved our purpose, our level of understanding of the Torah. Now we're asking you to please allow us a glimpse of your perspective too. And that's why we link it to the construction of the Beis Hamikdash, the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash. When is that going to happen? That's going to happen in the time of Mashiach. And in the time of Mashiach, that's when we will have the ultimate insight into Torah as Hashem sees it, so therefore we link the two. So now what we've done is we've split the Torah learning process into two categories. There's the part of Torah learning which is very much about us. We are the heirs and we are the ones who are going to work hard to learn and to understand. And based on that, we'll get to the part of Torah that we can understand as humans. And then there's a whole different area of Torah, which is the gift which Hashem hopefully will give us once we've pushed ourselves to the extent of our abilities. And that's something completely out of the ballpark, completely beyond our expectations. So these two categories can be identified in the way that Hashem gave Torah to us as well. Amr Razal Torah Tzivalon Moshe, the very, very well-known Gemara that says Torah was commanded to us by Moshe. What does that mean? Torah b'gematria Tov Reish Yud Aleph Have. The total value, we know that every letter in Hebrew has a numerical value called gematria. So if you take the gematria value of the word Torah, it comes to 611. Why 611? Because Moshe taught us 611 mitzvahs. The first two of the 10 commandments we heard directly from Hashem. So we have a split in the Torah, the two categories of how the Torah was given. There are 611 mitzvahs that were given to us via Moshe Rabbeinu, the ultimate teacher, and the first two of the 10 commandments given directly from Hashem himself. Why? Why did Hashem split it this way? The job that we have when it comes to learning Torah is to learn. And to learn Torah is something which is relative to human ability. So you can only learn to the extent of your intellect. Obviously, if something is beyond your own intellect, you can't learn it. And that's why the lion's share of Torah was shared with us through Moshe, because Moshe's job was to teach, and to teach in a way that we could actually understand the information. Most of the Torah was presented in such a way that we could actually understand it. There's another component of Torah that we need to have as well. The two first statements of the Ten Commandments, those speak to faith and absolute acceptance of Hashem's authority in a super rational way. Faith and absolute commitment to Hashem are actually gifts. They're gifts that Hashem gives us. They are not the kind of thing that the human being can generate of his own or her own accord, because the human mind doesn't take us to a place that requires faith, and it certainly doesn't take us to a place of absolute commitment. So that's a gift that Hashem gives us. And therefore those two instructions had to come directly from Hashem, because that is the empowerment that Hashem gave us to have the ability for faith and absolute commitment. So 611 mitzvahs are given to us to understand, which is a very big component of Judaism, to understand what you're learning, and therefore were given to us through a teacher, so we should understand it. But the two fundamental principles, I am Hashem your God and have no other gods before me, which is the principle of faith and the principle of absolute commitment, that's a gift which Hashem had to give us in person. The matana aspect of Torah. It's because of those two components that were given by Hashem to us that the entire event is called Matan Torah, the gift of Torah, because that was the uniqueness of that day, the gift Hashem gave us of Torah. Everything that happened before that, Shehu bitul mitzvahs HaKadosh Baruch Hu, harez avoida ubitul shel nivra. Everything that happened prior to the actual revelation at Sinai, including our incredible commitment and total surrender to Hashem to say, Naaseh v'nishma, we'll do whatever you say, all of that is what humans are capable of generating of their own accord. But what happened at the giving of the Torah is what Hashem gave us on His accord, the gift of Torah. And now we're going to see something fascinating. Generally speaking, we split Torah into two groups. There's the part of the Torah which is achieved through human endeavor, and there's the part of the Torah which is a gift from Hashem. So we said 611 of the mitzvahs are through human endeavor, and therefore they were taught through Moshe. Two, the first two, the primary two, are given directly from Hashem because they need to empower us with Hashem's energy of faith and absolute commitment. So therefore He had to say them to us directly. But that's not the full story. Because yes, Hashem announced those first two commandments, but there were 10 commandments that were given at Mount Sinai. That implies that the other 8 are somehow also part of Matan Torah, because that's how we talk about it. We talk about Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, being 10 commandments. Now we've only identified how 2 of them are given by Hashem. What about the other 8? And by extension, incidentally, what about the rest of the Torah? It's because very interesting, the Ramban and others say that the first two, Anoichi, I am Hashem your God, Lo yeh lecha, do not make other gods, we heard directly from Hashem. But the other 8 of the 10 commandments we also heard from Hashem, except we couldn't understand what He was saying, and Moshe had to repeat it for us. Which raises a very interesting question. The obvious question is, so what's the point? What's the point of hearing something if you don't understand what you're hearing? If the whole purpose is to learn, and you don't understand what you're learning, so what does it help just to hear the noise? Also, and why? Why would it be that the first two commandments we could hear and understand? What changed when it got to the next 8 commandments that we could hear but not understand? Why? Fascinating explanation. We've already established that when Hashem announced the first two commandments, that gave us the gift of absolute faith and absolute commitment on Hashem's terms, beyond human capacity. And we said that's why we heard those two directly from Hashem, without Moshe, so to speak, I don't want to use the word interfering, but without Moshe in any way transmitting. But this is the key. It's not good enough that we should feel absolute faith in Hashem and total commitment to Hashem only in the context of those two original mega mitzvahs. We're supposed to feel that in every single mitzvah. Every mitzvah that we do should be informed by our faith in Hashem. And every mitzvah that we do should be an expression of our absolute commitment to Hashem. That's what should happen. Like speak Shmias Beis Dibros Hashem is levad mi pi agvora, and ahoy tzarich lias kol v'gilei amshach mi HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'nei Yisrael yotzich mishma kol aseres hadibros shebehen remuzos kol targ nesater mi pi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why it was necessary to still hear the sound from Hashem even in the mitzvahs that we needed to understand on our terms. In other words, the remaining 8 commandments, it's not the goal there for Hashem to speak in a way that we're hearing Hashem, because the goal of these 8 commandments is not to overwhelm us with the clarity of Hashem's faith, or our faith in Hashem. The goal of those 8 commandments is we should put in the effort, and we should understand. But what Hashem wants is that even within our understanding, there should be the coil, the sound. Basically, what voice does is it allows whatever is on the inside to come to the outside. For which reason, coil is used universally in Hazardous as an expression of giloi, the revelation of something into our reality. So what's Hashem doing is not saying the word so that He'll do the work for us. We have to do the work to understand. But in that understanding, He reveals His power, His gift. So even in the parts of the Torah that we understand, we will have access to His gift. The gift of absolute commitment, the gift of super-rational faith. On the other hand, it's very clear that the reason we needed to hear Hashem's sound in these mitzvahs was not so that we should understand what Hashem is saying, but rather that we should have the flavor of commitment in our understanding. That's why we didn't understand the words that Hashem was saying. In fact, we were incapable of understanding, because the point is not for Hashem to speak in the level of understanding for us. Raksha Coil HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shakol Da Hashem Himshich B'Shem HaKol B'Vnei Sol Emunah B'Hashem HaKabbalah Sol Malchus Gam B'Chesed Dibros V'Kim Kol Echad V'Echad Me'Amitzvahs. And so the net result is this, that we were then, Hashem created a bridge. He started the process by giving us the full force of His gift. The end of the process will be every time we sit down and open a book and learn Torah with our understanding. And in between you have those 8 dibros, which represent the whole of Judaism, where it's primarily about us trying to understand, but at the same time hearing the echo of Hashem's voice, so that we appreciate it and know that what we're understanding is not about us, it's about Him. Not understanding in human terms or through our particular filters, but to understand with the acceptance that this is what Hashem wants, and I need to know how Hashem wants it to be, not how I would prefer it to be. Now we can eventually answer the question we had right at the beginning. Why do the Go'onim use such a strange expression that if a person undermines the Goyrel, the lottery, it's like they undermine the 10 Commandments? What does that mean? If you reject the Goyrel element of Torah, if you reject the part of Torah that is not rational, and there are parts of Torah, like the lottery system for dividing the land of Israel, there's a component of it that's not rational. And like the other mitzvahs which are beyond human comprehension. If a person should reject that part of the Torah and say, listen, this doesn't speak to me because I don't understand it, That's a rejection of the Ten Commandments, because the process of the Ten Commandments was to say the underpinning of Torah is it's what Hashem wants. And therefore it has to be my commitment to Hashem, regardless of whether I do or don't understand. There'll be elements that I do understand, and there'll be elements which I hear and I don't actually comprehend. And that should not become an impediment to my commitment or to my investment. Based on all of this, we can understand why it is that the division of the land of Israel had to be done through a lottery system. Why? The uniqueness of Israel is as described in the Pasuk. It's the land that Hashem's eyes are upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which means it's a land where there is greater revelation of godliness and not the same kind of impediment to the godly experience that we generally find in this world. This The fact that Israel should have this higher degree of divine awareness and experience, the fact that you know this, when you go to Israel, you very often see that there's a higher degree of hashgacha pratis, divine providence. You feel a sense of holiness in the land. That's not something we achieve, that's a gift from Hashem. That's why when the Gemara told us that there are 3 gifts Hashem gave to the Jewish people, one of the gifts is Torah, and one of the gifts is Israel. So there's a very strong correlation between the nature of Torah and the nature of our holy land. And that's why the division of the land of Israel had to specifically be done how? Through Hashem. Through something beyond the rational. Through a lottery. Where the lottery, as Shlomo HaMelech identifies, is Hashem's judgment that happens to fall into a particular person's lap. Now, we've already said before that when it comes to Torah, in order to earn the response from Hashem that is completely beyond the human mind, we first have to put in all of our effort to do everything that the human mind is capable of, basically to learn to the best of our abilities. Once we've done that, that's why it's not a contradiction that on the one hand the Torah says you should follow a rational process in order to decide how to divide the land, and on the other hand it says make a goyrel. That's how it works. We had to first work it out in human terms, because there is an expectation for us to use the human mind to the best of its ability to understand what Hashem wants. And then once we've done that, then we have to defer to Hashem's authority and say, Hashem, please send the gift of understanding something beyond my own capacity. This is a brilliant template for Torah learning, because it tells us the 3 core things that every single person has to know about Judaism. Number 1, it's an inheritance. There's no Jew on the planet who could say, Torah is not for me, it's beyond me, I don't have the capacity. It's equal access. Number 2, it's equal responsibility. So the second thing we always have to remember about Torah is you keep going at it, and you keep trying, and you keep researching, and you keep revisiting, and you keep revising until you have literally pushed yourself to the nth degree of how much you could possibly understand. And then a person is entitled to ask Hashem, I have done everything in my power. Please would you give me the gift? Please will you give me the gift that my learning should align with your infinite insight. May that be our experience, and may we see Sheibane Beis HaMikdash, the restoration of the Beis HaMikdash, the restoration of the land in its full boundaries as described in the Torah, with the coming of Mashiach, and that should happen immediately.